Playing that. Today we're playing a different Dimir deck. This is Deceit, Reanimator, Dimir, Deceit. Really in on Kavero, Mindbitten, my favorite card in Magic, with Deceit to power out a 4-mana 4/4 that can bounce a permanent and Thoughtseize, potentially that permanent, potentially something else. That play has been really strong, while Deceit also allows you to play through interaction, both counter magic endurance with the Thoughtseize, and then graveyard hate with the bounce. I've just been thinking Deceit is really good here. We were doing some kind of more experimental stuff too, like we were playing the Blight Thoughtseize, we're playing some of those. We're playing Emperor of Bones also, and I felt that Emperor was too many reanimation effects. We had 3 Kavero, 4 Persist. I think Kavero is just better than Emperor. And so I ended up cutting the Emperors. And then we're playing Quantum Riddlers, which I think are pretty obviously a good addition to the deck, where they are good to Kavero, they're good to Persist, and they're also just good with Psychic Frog. They're kind of good with how proactive the deck is in general, being able to play Deceit, Thoughtseize to empty the hand quickly. It's Quantum Riddler. Yeah, and so do we think that Gran-Gran is better than Tainted Indulgence? Like, is one big question. I think actually the answer is yes. I think the answer is just yes. Just that I think it fits really nicely on the mana curve, and I think it fits better with Quantum Riddler in general. So, been a little bit since we played Gran-Gran. Thanks for the reminder. But let's go ahead and cut the indulgences for Gran-Grans. Let's keep this. I guess I'm gonna put back Second Frog. They've got a Wooded Foothills. This isn't standard, Mr. Spike. Now you tell me. Maybe they're playing Eldrazi. Definitely keeping a land. Storm, maybe? Maybe Prowess. Okay, Prowess. Should be a good matchup. I think we played this matchup last time. Let me get the Moxfield up to date for y'all. I have to do the list and then put it in the extension. So we got a couple different options here. I think I'm gonna surveil main phase just so I get 2 looks at Persist here, which is just a game-winning card. I'm also looking for a land, so there's a land. We'll keep that so we can Persist or can Kavero Archon next turn. Maybe sometimes we lose to Slickshot Show Off here. Well, I guess we can chump with Frog a lot of the time. I love the spider MS painted on the top of this guy's head. You're telling me I gotta make a spider human hero? I've got just the guy. Imagine a hero, and he's human, and he's got a spider in his brain, man. It makes perfect sense. It makes perfect sense. I feel like my opponent's counting if they have lethal here. Yeah, my mind. It's been bitten. It's unclear how that's affecting me as a person or a character, though. Is the spider Kavero controlling this reanimated cyborg corpse? Open Pass left a lot more questions than answers. I hope they have both the frogs, so I don't have to think. Ugh, I have to think. So they don't have Delirium, so we don't need to worry about Violent Urge. If they have double Lava Dart, I'm at 15, plus another 7 from the Show Off. So that's 8, plus another 4 from the Monk, which is 4. And then, so if they have Lava Dart plus Mutagenic Growth, I'm dead if I don't block. I think I'd rather block. Although if they had Lava Dart, why wouldn't they have darted pre-combat to get a second token? Wait, did they already get another token? No, they already. Sorry, this is the first token. They did get the token. Kivero is the spider, the person that he reanimated. Since the spider is mind bitten, there's a tiny spider biting him. Oh, we've discovered. Wait, there's a little. Wait, are you saying there's a littler spider on top of this spider? Sort of like a Russian nesting doll of mind biters. Robot, the 33 months. Thank you. Welcome back. And they get so infinitely small, the human eye can't see them. They do love a dart. We could also have discarded a card here, but I think I'm just gonna Kivero. It's just such a disaster if we don't find the land, right? I don't know if I'm gonna attack with the Gran-Gran or not. If I draw Archon of Cruelty, I guess I will. So we go to 15, and they discard a card, and they lose the Monk token. There's a pretty good chance we do have to block the show off with the Archon. Let's see what we draw, but we drew a frog. So I'm at 14. Then if I don't block 11, another lava dart would be. My hand's pretty good. Let's just not attack with Gran-Gran. They reveal a lightning bolt, so they can bolt the Archon and flashback the dart to kill the Archon. So maybe we'll be dead without anything to do about it. I do think they have mutagenic growth. I don't think they would have cast a lava dart very often last game without it. All right. Maybe I'm wrong about the mutagenic growth. Maybe we would have been fine if we had discarded last turn. Although we wouldn't have been able to reanimate Archon. Down a game, I think the matchup overall is probably pretty fine. Let's see. How do we want to sideboard? I do think the Deceits are pretty bad against Prowess. So despite this being a big part of what we're testing, let's go ahead and cut them. I don't think I like Explosives very much against Prowess. It's not the worst ever. Maybe, I don't know, maybe Deceit is better than anything else. Dispute can counter some of their like sideboard counter magic, and then they can counter Iteration. We have Spell Pierces already. I guess I'll just play 2 Deceit still. I did draw Push and Frog, yeah. Is E too slow? Yeah, I don't think it's very good against them. Maybe I'm wrong. You know what? I haven't played it in a long time against them. Let's try it. I'm pivoting, but I haven't liked it in a long time against them. It does feel pretty slow. But maybe it's okay with how solid the rest of our deck is against them. Alright, so I'm on to play. I like that we can Spell Pierce Steel Cutter. If I was on the draw, I'd probably just go discard Archon, try to Spell Pierce Steel Cutter turn 3, persist Archon on turn 3. Or sorry, Spell Pierce Steel Cutter turn 2. Hope we can find a grandma or a frog or a Thoughtseize. We learned how to Thoughtseize ourselves earlier today. Ding, ding, ding. Well, now I'm going to cast the Psychic Frog. Beautiful hand. Remember when Swift Spear and Mage were great threats to Modern? Swift Spear is still legitimately great. Prowess is like high tier deck. Swift Spear is a big part of it, but yeah. Mage was just kind of the best you had. So they will have Delirium after they crack the Bauble if we're thinking about Unholy Heat here. What does Coffers need to come back? I don't know. Good. I don't think Coffers is super bad at the moment. I even there's like a lot of people who go, I play Cabal Coffers at my LGS and I am doing great with it, and that might be true. I haven't played it in a long time, but it might just kind of be fine. All right. Well, I was kind of hoping I could spell pierce the surgical, but maybe that's not a good thing to hope for. Don't think we're gonna discard anything right this second. Gonna hold up the spell pierce instead of playing Gran-Gran. So now we can spell pierce a Unholy Heat. Opponent graveyard's an iteration. Guess I wasn't thinking much about mutagenic growth here. Seeing I could spell pierce a bolt or heat, but not the worst exchange anyways. They're pretty dead next turn. Well, now I have another persist. I was gonna play the Riddler to win. Well, I think we'll just go for persist instead. Not showing them Riddler might do something, although I don't exactly know what that something is. To game 3 we go. I think let's keep the same sideboard plan. And if my opponent's reassessing, I'm gonna go to the bathroom real quick. All right, I got a fatal push on the draw against Prowess. I guess I'm keeping this. We also have a Looter and a Archon of Cruelty, although maybe being able to... this could be too slow. Gran-Gran could die too. Probably going to lead on the Watery Grave, even if it's kind of painful. The ability to surveil and then use push next turn's pretty valuable. Oh. Now, let's get basic Swamp and Thoughtseize. Being able to take a Steel Cutter is so important. Oh, I'm going to take Soul Guide Lantern. They bottomed 2 cards with the Preordain. I feel like they almost definitely saw land there. They cast the other Preordain. Yeah, they almost definitely just kept like double Preordain, 3 lands Lantern, which is fine, and they drew another land. Two cards on the top, 0 cards on the bottom. We know that they have a Steam Vince, a Mountain, a Mire, a Foothills, and then 2 mystery cards. One of them was a Bauble. Some good selection with the Bloodstained Mire there. We'll see if they found a removal spell for our sweet grandma. They cracked the fetch. I guess they were always going to dispute this, huh? Maybe I'll Cavero my Gran-Gran. Now they crack the fetch. They didn't like their top card, so now they're surveilling, and then they keep a card on top. So it seems like their hand is panning out a little bit better. They draw the card that they liked. Is the Mountain. So I believe their hand is Steam Vince Meyer. Oh, sorry, I should have played Strand because we just want to get Swamp off this. For some reason, I was thinking about Blood Moon, but that's just like not very realistic, especially compared to. Oh my gosh, well, better lucky than good. Am I right? Am I right or am I right? Now, I'm pretty sure that this is their hand. That they played Fetch Land on turn 2, not the other Steam Vents. Want to know? Long match for match against prowess. Maybe I'll play. Maybe I'll get up early and play in the Thursday and the Friday one. We'll see. Probably not. Tapped Witch Enchanter. Maybe Quantum Energy. We're probably going to Deceit them here. Seems okay to keep that. Welcome back, Grief. Okay, no, it's Blink. I guess I'll take the Teferi. Even though I've got the Spell Pierce. No, maybe that was wrong. I would have loved to have surveilled this in the yard this turn. Deceit unfortunately can only target opponents. It's a little bit awkward. Not the biggest deal. Like one issue with taking one thing we could have done is we could have taken Ophelia and planned to bounce and discard it next turn, but they could just respond to the triggers with the Ophelia. A surprising amount of flash threats. That Deceit is a little bit worse at like bouncing and then taking. No, a shot. They top deck the Riddler. Ah. Well, I guess I can bounce and then take that. We'd also draw a frog maybe and just Archon. Haven't played against Blink almost at all lately. Now we could Thoughtseize ourselves and Persist Archon. I think I like the idea of doing that. It's bad if they found a Solitude, of course, and also them knowing what the Spell Pierce is maybe a little awkward. Their hand is push, Felia, Wisp, 2 mystery cards. So they're probably gonna sack the Felia here. Unless they feel like they want to get the value from the Felia. Would Strict Serenade over Spell Pierce Believer? The format wasn't so bad versus Archon in this deck. Yeah, I agree. Archon's pretty strong. We have a lot of. I also think Pierce is really important because of how there's just so much Tron, y'all. It's really easy to forget that we played against Tron like 6 times yesterday, but Tron has been so popular even beyond just yesterday, and Spell Pierce for K Command is like so important, and both are good against Neo form, but Spell Pierce also very nice there. Counters Thraben Charm against Boros, just I think a really important tool to have. Let's Spell Pierce that. They know my hand, so let's not just let them like take the Cavero and then play around the Pierce the rest of the game. They could flicker the clone. The Cavero, yeah. So they pay for the Pierce, they're gonna go down to 12, take Cavero. Their hand is Felia, Wisp, Push, Mystery Card. If that Mystery Card is Solitude, we could pull our hair out. We're in hardcast Deceit range, which is nice. Gonna graveyard that. My opponent's got Fatal Push still, although maybe they would discard Fatal Push. They do discard the Fatal Push. Maybe we messed up there. Their hand, anyways, is Felia, Wisp, and we're in pretty strong shape. One thing that's been kind of quiet about this build too is like once you get to 6 mana in spots like this, like your top decks are really quite good. So they're looking for Ephemerate, Solitude here. Their hand is again Felia, Wisp, 2 mystery cards. They don't find it and they concede the game to us. So we're up a game against Esper Blink. I'm going to bring in both copies of Dispute. Consign may be important for Solitude. I think I don't want the Spell Pierces, even if they get the Teferis. We don't care that much about Teferi anyways. Against Esper Flash compared to Jeskai Flash, Push is a lot worse because they don't play Frog. Although it does go Emperor. I guess we need all of them. So at least one Spell Pierce. Probably just running this here. Or one Consign. Probably just running this. Maybe I want the second Consign. Although the thing is, if they Solitude your Archon, you just kind of keep playing the game. Maybe we could be moving away from Persist a little bit. Actually, let's do that. Let's just go down to 2 Persist. They play a good bit of Graveyard Hate. I'd never bring in Harbinger against decks with Solitude, as blue decks with Solitude, especially Quantum Riddler Solitude deck. I would just never bring it in. If you do, then I would kind of love to hear how it's been for you. But I've just kind of never tried it because I don't think it's good. Esper doesn't play any Graveyard Hate except for Emperor, though they also have Trawler. Or do they not play Trawler? Well, we drew both of our Persists. Ban Entomb and Modern. Maybe they have the Emperor here, though. It's not celebrating too much. I think to play around Trawler, we'll go for it here. We also have second Persist if they have like a counter spell or something. Ah, what the fuck, dude? No way. I was not expecting that one. They take the Riddler. I do have Persist and Push. Yeah, it doesn't stop Cavero. So we'll see if they have Ephemerate to save their priest. Does kind of seem like maybe they have another Containment Priest or Ophelia. I think I'm still going to persist my Riddler here. Yeah, so if they have their own Riddler, we get to block their Ophelia, probably. Maybe Cavero Ophelia. Maybe they have a Containment Priest and they're just going to go Containment Priest attack. They play Overlord. So they could get back Priest if they have a land and then attack. They return Solitude instead, so they can Solitude the Riddler and flicker the Overlord. And then I can like Convero Witch Enchanter maybe, although they could make a heads up play, I guess, and get back the Witch Enchanter, although I guess I'd be able to Convero Solitude at that point. So they Solitude pitch Witch Enchanter. I don't know why they would do that when it gives you a draw. Well, they would do it if they had Overlord land here. So just be mana efficient, get the Lord in play. I guess not that mana efficient. My opponent misclicked on the Solitude. Horrific, horrible misclick. I feel very bad for them. My condolences, everybody. F in the chat for our opponent, I guess. Yeah. That's gotta hurt. Well, hard to mulligan this, so let's keep. Yeah, somehow we have, despite all the Oculus or all the Moonshadow decks we played, we haven't played a Oculus version. Still on my to-do list, although maybe trying to space out the Moonshadow builds a little bit because we've been a little bit overloaded on them. Do I put a Hand Hider up against this upkeep stop? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that against upkeep and draw step stop. I don't know. Could be nothing. Maybe they're playing mill if they've got the upkeep and drop step stop, draw step stop on, and they are getting swamp instead of watery grave. Although there's a frog. But I'm playing faster now. Let's just go ahead and push the frog, play a little bit slower here. Yep, possibly they have main deck Harbinger. They warp a Riddler, go up to 3 cards. Looks like it's just normal Dimir Frog. Why Gran-Gran, is it the only 1-mana looter in the format? Yeah, it is. Also got 2 toughness. But it is, yeah. So they're gonna take a sink. I thought briefly about discarding my whole hand, but that doesn't seem very good because then that makes Cavero not live. So they clearly take a sink. Warp another Riddler. Ah, the mirror. The mirror adjacent. So I'm down to just attack, and if they want to chump block, I don't care. So I was gonna wait for them to discard before I bounce their frog, but I drew Thoughtseize, so I think it makes sense to probably should have discarded an Archon also. But yeah, there's just a pretty good chance that we're gonna Thoughtseize the frog. So they drew a Delta for turn. Yeah, the problem with me discarding my Archons is if my opponent draws Cavero, we're kind of cooked. Although I just drew a Quantum Riddler, so we'll warp we'll discard a Archon so we can draw extra cards here. Yeah, you could play looting, although I do think that the splash is, not exactly free. They should have discarded their Archon here, and they did not. That's true. So now Persist is live. We get to draw 2 more cards. Yeah, but also like them playing around Cavero, I think is fine. Although they're so behind on board, they probably shouldn't be playing around Cavero. They should probably be they should probably just try to draw their own Persist. Although I did open myself up to Cavero here. So are we playing? I guess it's not a complete mirror here because they have a snare. But yeah, we did run into the mirror, which is interesting. So they play a Riddler. They get to draw 2. We get to hardcast a Deceit here. Do they not have Cavero in their deck? Because they're just so live if they drew that. Okay, I'm gonna keep up the hand hider, I think. And I'm gonna bring in the Trespassers and the Disputes. I think I'm just cutting the Thoughtseizes, which is maybe wrong. Maybe Thoughtseize is good. I don't know. It's kind of awkward against Riddler sometimes. We have Spell Pierce and Deceit to break up their combo still. I need to play all 4 Fatal Push. Maybe I cut my Persists. Yeah, let's cut Persists. Their deck is built different from mine, so there's like a somewhat high chance they've got like Nile Spellbombs and stuff, and I don't have them. And I'm just not really particularly cold to that stuff if I cut the Persists. Am I cold to Kappa? Hope to race it. I mean, I have Thoughtseize, I've got Archon of Cruelty, I've got Engineered Explosives for Affinity. But like, yeah, Archon can race Kappa Cannoneer sometimes. Guess I'll just take Riddler. I drew a Grandma. I have my own Grandma. I think I'm keeping a land here. Fully expecting my Gran-Gran to get Fatal Pushed. They discarded Marsh or Flooded Strand instead of Marsh Flats, which gives me a little bit more info than I needed to have. It's kind of a small thing, but good thing to make sure you're discarding the land your opponent knows. Although, they were just doing this anyways. So they're going to Warp Deceit. Here's my hand. They take my Riddler. Makes sense. So I'm going to cast a Graveyard Trespasser. If they want to Fatal Push this, I think that's going to be okay. Get a 2-for-1 if they do. And they discard the Spell Snare even though they know I have a Frog in my hand. I think that's interesting. 3-for-1 if you count the Deceit. You shouldn't count it as a card advantage here, I think. They discard an Archon, so let's see if they found a Persist or land Kivero. Bummer. I'm going to discard Spell Pierce, I guess. I do get to just bounce this to hand with Deceit, though. Still not in what I would call good shape. At the moment, it doesn't really seem like... Okay, well, we haven't seen any Graveyard Hate, so maybe we'll bring the Persist back in for Game 3. They can just put the Archon right back in the yard, so it's not like we got to advance things that much. So they do just plop it back in. They did miss their land drop last turn also, so they have a bunch more spells, and they missed it again this turn. So I'm going to cast a Frog. Do you ever feel like I need the Hand Hider while I'm not streaming? I'll say when I'm not streaming, I still get a lot of people who... hold on. I do still get a lot of people who will, like, take, like, a minute to show up, you know? And I guess I want to know, to you who, you know, have your own usernames, do you feel like you just get a lot of gamers who take, like, a full minute to show up and play after queuing? Or am I experiencing that because people are either leaving or joining the stream? I genuinely don't know, and I'm curious. So I'm going to discard my own Archon here. I didn't discard one here because I have my own... I have a Kivero as my last card, but now I can't cast the land anyways. It happens a lot, yeah. So again, it's kind of hard for me to tell. I mean, that's just why we pull up the hand hider, right? Because we don't really know exactly what's going on. Maybe the Spell Pierces are not great. I feel like it's a very creature focused game, and then like Spell Pierce on Persist gets dead really fast. Let's try this. All right, keeping my 7 on the play. See what our opponent does. It'd be cool if they made a speed league. Maybe. I mean, I think that there's some management they could do to like the timeout stuff in general. I do it to other people very common. Yeah, I get. I'm not sure how common it is in general because it's different. No, we have Archon there just off screen. We have 4 Archons. White hand hider. Yeah. So in this spot, like our opponent, they took like a full minute to show up, and then there was like an upkeep and a draw step pause. Which I don't actually know that means our opponent's more likely to ghost, but it just is a little bit weird, right? So again, I mean, overall, it's not something I like to spend a lot of time on, but I just feel like when weirdness like this happens, it is good form to just try to protect the integrity of the game if we can. All right, I'm gonna cast Deceit here. I've done a Coco deck with Oculus Harbinger. I've tried so many times to build it. Okay, take the Persist. I've tried a lot to build Coco Oculus. Sometimes with Harbinger, sometimes with Badger Mole Cub, sometimes with Tomio to like buy back the Coco. The deck is just not there because there's just not enough good stuff to hit off Coco in Simic at least. Like you just kind of can't get to a good Coco deck. At least I failed. But I agree that the start of a shell is there. So like definitely be on the lookout for good Simic 2 and 3 mana creatures getting printed. So Coco Oculus can become a deck. I've wanted it to be a deck for quite some time. So I'm going to persist my Riddler here. They drew Spell Pierce, which is a bummer. They have their own Graveyard Trespasser in their deck too. Their build is very similar to mine. They just somehow have room for Spell Snare. I'm not sure exactly how they found that. They keep a card on top. Their hand is Cavero, Graveyard Trespasser, Fatal Push, Mystery card. So very likely the mystery card is a land. It's kind of there. Simic Ritual's the shell. I mean, yeah, Simic Ritual exists. It would just be a Coco deck instead of a Ritual shell. But yes, Ritual is better because there's also just not support. Or you're saying you want to play Coco also in that deck? Maybe. I just think hitting like the Ice Fangs and Coiling Oracles are pretty. It's pretty bad. So they hit Quantum Riddler here. I think I have to graveyard that. It's the worst draw ever, though. So they have their own copy of Cavero in the deck, or in the hand rather. So I'm gonna be taking that and just I'm gonna bounce the Gran-Gran, but not take it. I imagine maybe I'll take something else. We have this to block the Trespasser pretty well. They can't Fatal Push it either. So very happy that they exiled the Quantum Riddler, not the Deceit. That might be a game-losing misplay for them. You can main phase the Coco and play on curve with Ritual. Yep, maybe it just fits then. Would Benevolent River Spirit make the cut? I just hate that. It could make the cut if you play a lot of blue pitch cards. Um, but I wouldn't say I'm super optimistic about it. Yeah, let's take their Cavero. Maybe Sync on my Cavero here is kind of dangerous, but I do just get to like copy the Riddler if they do that, so don't think I'm too scared. Their hand is Sync, Riddler, Gran-Gran. They play Gran-Gran. They play Sync tapped. And then they warp Riddler so they could draw extra card. I draw another Cavero, so I'm going to go and take their Quantum Riddler so they won't have anything good to reanimate. Although a 4/4 Riddler could be a little bit awkward in this matchup, right? Since they might just play like a 4/6 next turn. How do we feel about attacking? I think with them being a 20 and me being a 10, it's a little bit awkward to attack. Let's chill for a turn. We know no card in their hand anymore. Yeah, this mirror is super interesting. Maybe they have a reanimation spell if they're surveilling main phase instead of casting a Riddler. Although I would imagine casting Riddler has just got to be better. Blue? What's this? Deceit. To bounce my... I guess they're both Caveros, but the Riddler Cavero, which makes sense. But then doesn't this let me just Cavero their Deceit? Yeah, no, this didn't make sense, did it? Well, let's surveil. Another copy of Deceit. I feel like this game is going to be won or lost based on if I keep this or not. My hand is so clunked up, but I'm just worried about turning on my if my opponent top stacks a Cavero, but oh my gosh, did I pay right? Oh my gosh, I didn't do the discard mode. Sorry. Huge punt. Sorry about that. I don't want to blame it too much, but my phone was like ringing a spam call in my ears. I'm not gonna try to blame it on that, but I guess I just did. Huge punt. Now they get to Cavero their Deceit. It seems like they had it. So they're gonna bounce one of my Caveros. And then they have to take my Persist. And then they're gonna replay the Grandma. So I guess now I Thoughtseize myself, take Archon, Cavero the Archon. They're going to go down to one card in their hand. They sack the Grandma. And they discard Persist. Playing Undercity Sewers. They still have a Quantum Riddler and Warp, which they cast, draw 2. The Riddler does block my Archon pretty well because it's a Caveroed Archon. So I'm going to play a Psychic Frog. I'm going to discard a Graveyard Trespasser. Then I'm going to Warp a Quantum Riddler and draw 2 cards. Then I'm going to pass the turn. Eliu, hope I'm saying that right. Thank you for the Twitch Prime. Appreciate you. Like the attack is good. They would still lose 2 things to the block. Yeah, I could just hold it though, is the thing. Oh, looks like they're finding an Archon. All right, so I'm going to discard, or hold on. This is a Caveroed Archon. I think I'm going to discard my Cavero Deceit, discard another copy of Frog. So I guess we block here. Discard both cards. My last 2 cards are Cavero Fatal Push. And maybe discarding the Cavero is a big mistake, but this is where we're at, I think. A 4/4 Archon is certainly a lot smaller than a 3/3 Archon, isn't it? So I'm going to cast this, draw 2. I can attack and draw 2 more. Pretty dead, I guess. They have something. They have a sink. Okay, pretty dead. Okay, I think it's lunchtime. I like this deck. I would like to play some more of it potentially. I think I certainly 2-0 lose to the mirror is not not something to be too concerned about. Sorry, we had to put the hand hider up. I like the deck. I'd play some more. I just have to eat some lunch. I'm very hungry. I did some running yesterday, and I haven't run that much in a long time. Let's see. So tomorrow I'm going to play an updated version of Dimir Flash. I'm going to spend some time testing that tonight. I mostly just think Snapcaster is better than Bowmaster.